As artificial intelligence continues to grow quickly, regulatory responsibilities and the question of ethics of AI for teens is becoming more prominent. We'll hear more on this from Richard Lachman, professor of digital media at Toronto Metropolitan University, and of course, Colin Stewart joining us as well for this conversation. Richard, it's good to have you. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Where are we right now with AI when it comes to protecting teenagers, do you think?
We're in the same place it is for AI in many ways, the Wild West. We're sort of radically far ahead of a sober conversation on what features we want to have, what safeguards we want to have in place. We are basically conducting a series of unregulated experiments because the speed at which the commercial profit-making AI technology is moving is incredibly fast. Yet when we have questions of mental health, when we have questions of relationships and safety, we're far, far in advance of really understanding the dynamics of play and understanding who, whether it's regulators, parents, governments, have a role in really limiting what kind of relationship we want our teens to be having with this new technology.
Yeah, I guess there's still that question of whose responsibility really it is. We're seeing some social media sites, though, taking the lead. Instagram will soon allow parents to stop teenagers from chatting with AI characters. Do you think that's maybe a good first step in terms of measures?
Sure. So I think some limits are absolutely important. I want to pause on my praise for Instagram for a number of reasons. One, Instagram's not coming up with this on their own. There have been leaks from whistleblowers within Meta talking about the relationship that the company has had with protections, knowing that harms might be there, and they're being pushed into this. So it's not that the organization is saying, oh yeah, hey, we understand there's some risks to this technology, here are the steps we're going to take. They're being pushed. And these are internally judged steps. So there have been external studies from third parties that have looked at some of the safety measures they've done in the past around teenagers and the internet feed, the kind of content they might have, potentially harmful content. And those tests have found that Instagram's own measures are not as successful as they think they should be. We need some sort of third-party outside bodies that are able to measure this kind of output and really have access to the kind of data in order to say how effective these measures are. So it maybe is a good step, but without third-party verification, it's really hard for any of us out here to say we understand what kind of content is being viewed, we understand how many, how this is changing from what they might have been able to do 6 months ago or a year ago. It's really hard to see if this measure is going to be as effective as the company is promising.
Richard, who do you think the responsibility falls on to put these guardrails in place, and how much should be, obviously you talked about third parties, but what about parents, schools? Can parents rely on these companies, these technology companies or AI companies themselves to do it? Or do parents and the education system need to sort of take that on themselves and find ways to put their own guardrails in place?
Yeah, thanks. It's a great perspective because, of course, it needs all measures. It needs individual personal responsibility. It needs families to be having conversations as we might around screen use in general, around cell phones, around social media. Which also means parents hopefully are more aware than they are sometimes of what kinds of things their kids are doing. This is a one device, and it's your homework, and it's also your social connection, and it's also AI chatbots. So yeah, it's hard to know, but families need to have these conversations. There is a role for the government. There is a role for regulators. And I think because of the wide variety of kinds of uses we're using with AI chatbots or some of these virtual characters, it verges on mental health supports, it verges on homework help. That's a massive range of kinds of activities that teens are using. And if this is going to be in the realm of, say, mental health supports or relationship advice, when we have practitioners of those, professional bodies have regulations, they have self-management, they have codes of professional ethics, they have a professional board that can review individual practitioners and talk about the advice they're giving, their best practices. None of that is true when we talk about AI. So we really need to maybe bring forward, if these are the kinds of relationships teens are having or the kinds of activities that are happening with a general purpose chatbot, then maybe there are multiple modes and multiple bodies that are commenting on, maybe it's something around mental health supports, maybe it's something around homework, maybe it's something around other kinds of content. And it might be that a company like OpenAI or a company like Instagram is inviting external bodies to really have a stronger advisory point of view.
We were talking earlier as well about, when it comes to the internet in general and social media in general, when do kids get involved on the internet? When do they actually start having social media accounts of their own? And you talk about how different children are from teenagers when it comes to this. Can you talk about those different demographics and the challenges there?
Sure. So this is something some of the companies are trying to address. So think about the difference between what you might want a 10-year-old to have access to and a 16 or 17-year-old. They're asking different kinds of questions. They have a different point of view. They're, 16-year-olds are trying to explore the world. Maybe they're trying on different modes of being. Maybe they're exploring different questions. And they might have a slightly different expectation of privacy in terms of what the parent has to sign off on and what a parent might have visible. And, my teenagers are allowed out later at night. So I don't have as much visibility as I would on a 10-year-old. So companies are trying to explore this. They're talking about sort of what's PG-13 versus, what's AA versus what's rated R content. That an adult might have the full range of what they can talk to a ChatGPT or view on the internet versus a younger child. And that's challenging because, of course, teens can get around all kinds of age restrictions. Teens know how to use VPNs, teens know how to spoof their birthday. And so organizations and in some cases governments are talking about age verification. Is there some means where we're pushing the platforms to verify what age you are? And then from that, they can put you in a bucket. You get this algorithm, you get the right to view this kind of content. That's not effortless, however. We know that companies have not been the best stewards of our privacy information. So the thought that the same company that's selling all of my browsing history to advertisers, I'm going to just upload a copy of my driver's license to them. I'm not sure that's exactly what I want to do. Putting this kind of content on servers means it can be compromised. So there was a recent pull on Discord where they had some age verification methods and it was stolen by cyber criminals because there was a record of people's ID and information, and that once that's stored online, that can be pulled. And then there are questions of rights and privacy. So people are different online when they have some expectation of anonymity. Maybe you want to talk about a political point of view. Maybe you want to express an unpopular opinion. Maybe you want to ask a question about something you're uncertain about in your health, in your mental health, and you don't necessarily feel like you want your name attached to that. Age verification is not effortless. It changes the relationship we have to the internet. And teens have been able to ask questions and try on personalities with that somewhat expectation of it's not fully what an adult might have, but neither is it the same thing that a 10-year-old child might want.
Such a vast conversation. Richard, I appreciate you joining us this morning to kind of break it all down. Thanks so much for your time and your insight.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
That was Richard Lachman, a professor of digital media at Toronto Metropolitan University.